welcome to Nourishing the Mother, where inspired women talk about the journey of motherhood through the common thread of parenting, relationship, and sexuality as a path to consciousness. We ask, in what ways can we show up more fully, live more meaningfully, parent more wholly, and love more unconditionally? How can we mine the wisdom from the experiences of our lives and expand into those challenges? If you are here, you care about paving a path of conscious and intentional motherhood, connected with yourself and your gifts, and also illuminating your children in theirs, so we may raise more whole humans who can impact this world in a more humane way. And if you feel like giving a little back to this free content, please become a patron of the show and receive extra member benefits for less than a coffee a month. Or you can leave a review on iTunes and Facebook, all of which helps the podcast keep going and reach more mamas who need this type of tonic for the soul. Head on over to patreon.com/NTM podcast to find out more. We are Julie Tenner and Bridget Wood, and we are so grateful you're here.
Hello and welcome to Nourishing the Mother. I'm Bridget Wood.
And I'm Julie Tenner. And today's podcast is the wrap-up on Julie's book launch. So we'll give you the ins and the outs and the highs and the lows and wrap up what has been a pretty extraordinary journey today. Before we do that, I would really like to introduce you to our podcast sponsor this week, and it's someone pretty special, a woman that we both really adore and wholeheartedly support her business, which is the Awaken Label. So we've done a T-shirt collaboration with her. So if you're on socials, you will have seen Bridget and I wearing a T-shirt that says nourish across the top of it. And so we chose that for these reasons, and I'm going to let you in on what they are. Nourish the woman to rock the family. It's our ode to remembrance. Nourish your heart, body, and soul. Remember you. Remember love flows in and out, always in a balance of giving and receiving. Let's nourish hearts, bodies, and minds of those we love and the community and land upon which we thrive. Let's nourish with kindness, compassion, and love this festive season.
The Awaken Label was founded by Andrea, a mum, motivational speaker, and meditation facilitator, with the intention to awaken people to their inherent power and find the freedom within their heart and mind. These beautiful teas, which we're so excited about, have been carefully handcrafted with love and purpose and are in alignment with the Awaken Label's values. The Awaken only sources suppliers who follow strict ethical and environmental sustainability standards. So do go and check them out at theawakenlabel.com, and you will find the shirts right there on the homepage, and you can check out different colorways and different colors and sizes that are available. And we love ours and invite you to get your own too.
Yeah, and really just remind yourself. So what I love about it is you wear it and everyone you walk past reads it and goes, nourish. Nourish. What does that mean to me? And as I walk through like the force of nourish, yes, I'm here to nourish. I actually really adore it. I really do. And then the most fabulous quality, I really honestly love.
Yeah, the quality's great. In fact, I've got the one with the rose gold nourish, and I'm like, I think I need the upper one as well. With the black.
I know. She has this rose coloured, like a dusty rose colour T-shirt. Mine's white, which I do love a white T-shirt to, wrap over a dress or something, but I think I'm going to go get the rose one as well. So at $45 a T-shirt, they're a fantastic gift idea, or perhaps something that you would love to be nourished by a loved one just for yourself. You want to buy yourself a little Chrissy present. So definitely check her out at theawakenlabel.com. If you would love to join our community and stay in the loop with all things we've got going on, then please join our newsletter at nourishingmother.com.au and scroll on down to the red banner. Drop in your email and we will keep you in the loop. All right.
So as we do this podcast, I must just add, I am actually still enjoying some wine from the weekend at Julie's book launch because it was such a fabulous afternoon that we had to continue on, some of us. So I'm still consuming a bottle of wine, which says a lot about how much fun it was.
That's so magic. Who did you continue on with?
With Charmaine, Amelia, and Sally.
Oh, that's...
Yeah, we went out for dinner and wine. It was beautiful.
Oh, I bet it was magic. I'm a little bit silly. I bet it was amazing.
It was gorgeous. So it feels really nice to be drinking, because I don't actually drink much, I drink often. So it feels nice to be drinking a glass of Sauvignon Blanc and an ode to your book launch.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. You were magic on Friday night too at the virtual book launch.
We did do the virtual one too, didn't we? Yeah, it was awesome.
It really was wonderful. So I guess what I'd love today is, last time I left you all in the podcast was that I had just sent my book that I'd written in 3 days off for a second edit. And then, the line went dead and we kind of haven't revisited the experience. Yeah. So I just wanted to wrap that up for you all and let you know that this baby has been birthed out into the world. And if there were, any questions or behind the scenes things that you think of, Bridgie, that it would just be fun to hash them out in here.
I love that you talked about it like a baby, right? Because it really was like a really painful and like soul-searching gestation period of like growth and like letting go and shattering of identity and loss and pain. Like it really was that.
Oh, so was. And I can remember saying to you, like, we were at the park together 5 weeks ago, I don't know, something like that. And I was like, oh God, I think I'm just going to hide it away and I'm not really going to do anything. And it'll just be something that sits on my website. And you were like, are you creating problems so you don't really have to put it out in the world? And I was like,
you didn't want to hear that.
I think you might be right. Because it has been an incredibly painful journey, and every step of the way has been like hitting my head against a brick wall, which of course the brick walls are just me. Like, they're just me. I'm so aware that they're just me.
But they also manage to be like, that, I don't know what the word for it is, kind of like, I don't know, like the alchemist who has to just get the perfect remedy or the perfect concoction to reveal the depth of the treasure, right? So I also think that there's that process, like your dedication to the art that is what you put out in the world means that you're going to hit that, because you're not willing to accept something that you feel is subpar, right?
Yes. No, I'm not here for mediocrity. And I really honour, I don't know, to do justice to the journey and all of the pain and all of the time and all of the variations of sacrifice that are included in doing something new. I just think what a tragedy it would be to only half-ass that. Like, it doesn't feel very honouring. So part of me that wants to honour what that journey has been is to show up for it to the very end. Like there's this honourable part of me that wouldn't let that bar drop, but it just meant it was a lot of brutally removing all of the blocks within myself, which I'm so aware that's what it was, in order to move through and evolve into, I don't know, what feels now more like a gliding rather than a, I don't know, bone crushing.
A pummeling.
I don't know. So I did get my review back from my second editor, from the second edit, from the same editor, the original editor of the first one that she hated. And it was great. There was almost, there was hardly any editing in there. She had, at every point, I'd made certain points. So by the last time, I think I'd said to you all that I had collated the arguments and then thought about what I was going to do with each of those. And so there was a few of them that I chose to answer directly in my book. And I remember reading them back to Nick and being like, you know, blah, 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 for you, this person's name. And I found it hilarious that each one of those points she'd written a comment like, oh, this makes so much sense, or something, you know, of a variation of that. And I was like, yeah, because it was written for you, you know, so, which was magic though. It made me go, oh, okay, this time you got it. I just needed to step that back a little bit and a little bit more context for you. So that was really affirming, actually. And at the end of it, she said, yeah, well done, you know, blah, blah, blah. So then we just moved into the making of the book, which is now open and available everywhere. And the launch date was the 5th of December. So we had our virtual launch together, which, if you haven't seen that, is on the Pleasure Nutritionist Facebook page. But I will share it over to Nourishing the Mother Facebook page, because it's
great idea.
It's fun to see us doing stuff together, isn't it?
And that speech has to be heard far and wide. I thought that your speech was so, so beautiful that you delivered, both in that virtual event but also on the day. Like, it was just
it's hard for me to see the other side of that speech, because I'm on this side of it, and I just feel like I cry my entire way through it. That I'm like, oh God, did anyone even hear what I was saying? You know, because I'm like, oh, and it speaks from my heart. It's like, you know, and there's nothing I can do about that. That's just the way it is for me. So,
but that's deep authenticity, right? Like, that's just complete revealing.
Thank you.
Which I think is just magnificent.
Thank you. Yeah, I really did actually feel really good about that speech. It, you know, took me a few days to really work out how to articulate your why. Don't you think? I get that everyone and every brand and every, you know, story has a why, but sometimes it can feel so big and so part of your life's journey that it's hard to articulate your why, don't you think?
Yeah, and I think also so often your why is so enmeshed with exactly who you are and how you see the world, and often how you assume that other people see it too, that then it doesn't seem like it's anything to write home about until you then test it with more and more people and you go, oh, not everybody thinks like that. You know, so that's actually the helpful feedback. And I actually think that part of that horror time that you had with that edit was exactly what you needed to come back into yourself and go, oh, this is revolutionary. So how do I write in such a way that is accessible to more women? Because the first run of the book wasn't.
No, it wasn't. You had to have already been familiar.
Yeah, so you needed to write the book that could touch more women. And she was telling you how you weren't touching her or reaching her. And so she had her, you know, her blocks up to it. So the most painful thing was to then, like, obviously throw it all away.
But no, I 100% agree with you, which is why, I mean, I didn't have to throw it all away, so to speak. I had a choice, but I chose exactly that. I chose to say, who am I if I'm not going to try and try harder? Like, who am I not to show up in, I know I can find a way to say it that makes sense to more women. So who am I not?
And that's the true measure of really understanding something, is to be able to simplify it.
Oh, yeah. Who said that? Is it Einstein?
I think it was Einstein, yeah. I don't know what his words were, but
I can't think of it either, but it is that quote. Yeah. The greatest teachers are the ones who can make the complex super simple. So if you can't pull the complex down into something that's super simple, I don't think you really understand it. So it's been the book of lessons, but it's been like, also sitting here, I wouldn't change any of them. It was a brutal process, but I also knew it was growing me at the same time, and that whatever needed to be let go of or let die, whilst it was a painful funeral sometimes, was completely purposeful, and that if I wanted to be out on the other side of this book with deeper love, greater capacity, you know, further reach, then this was the process. And I'm all in for that, really, even though it's painful. I'm in for that. So it has been a marvelous process, just by virtue of how much I've had to grow up through it, really. And the book launch was magic. Was magic. I stood up the front of this gathering of, you know, roughly 50 women, and I had the matriarchs of what has been part of my journey. So I had Rhea Dempsey and Pinky McKay were both there, whose own books changed my life, who have heralded so many of the pivotal moments in my own journey, right through to the most magnificent women that have done many programs or coaching with me, or are themselves facilitators of women in the world, healers and practitioners. And to stand in front of this gathering of the most profound group of women was just so heart-opening. I think I literally cried the second I stood up. And later on, Nick said to me, he was like, oh, God, this is not good if she's crying the second she stands up. But I was overwhelmed with what it means to stand amongst this collection of magnificent women. Like, it was humbling and heart-opening. I feel like I spent 2 hours just crying and hugging, and it was incredible.
It was just so beautiful. It was just so beautiful to witness also the culmination of everything that I've seen behind the scenes, and then to know how much you put into it and that you left nothing of yourself unsurrendered in the process of creation, to then be able to be celebrated in that way, I just thought was beautiful.
Thank you. That is what it feels like. I didn't leave anything on the dance floor.
No.
I played it all.
Yeah, and you created, like, the attention to detail that you did or executed in terms of the event was next level as well. So it wasn't even just that, oh my God, I've got this book printed. It was like, I've created, you know, I've thought of everything. I've thought of, like, the honey jars and the wax stamp on top of the honey jars and the beautiful brand color weave through the gift bags and, you know, like the bookmark and, you know, everything.
Thank you.
It was magnificent.
It was really gorgeous. I've got to say, though, I did harass my sister, who's the creator of Yotography. I was like, I've got to do some magic here. Let's brainstorm ideas. Her and
she's so creative.
Oh,
she's
yeah.
a powerhouse.
And Sophia Steger, who's done collaborations with us, we were sitting together, and I'm like, they were all throwing up ideas, and I'm like, yep, I'm going to catch that one. I'm going to catch that one. I'm going to do a bit of this. No, ditching that. I'm going here. But it was out of just a gathering of women where I went, oh my God, what am I doing here? You know, who's got ideas, and tossing them around.
Great.
Oh, it was magic. It was magic, but it just made me think that's so the process of any, I don't even know what the word is, powerful creation in the world, is that it is about collaboration and community. It is about the coming together and the inspiration that women have for each other and raising each other up. There was zero competition in amongst those entire 50 women that were there on Saturday, right? Like, they were all there, all practitioners in their own right, and yet just adored and adoring.
It really was. It was just beautiful. There was no edges. I felt like it was just a beautiful coming together,
wasn't it? And that for me was just, like I said, just heart-bursting, because I just thought, oh my God, I've done it. Not because I've done the book, but the vision that I always had for my life of being surrounded in a community of women that were mothering of Mother Earth. You know, like, I have such a huge mother wound, and I have this vision of the sisterhood and the mother that so fills that void. And here it was,
personified in all these women,
right? And I really just sat there and went, oh my God.
And also healing in some ways for your own mother wound. Like, I overheard your mum say, oh, I just can't believe it. I'm just so proud of her. I heard your mum say, right? So there's something else there too, in terms of her being able to witness that, and you being able to be in that as well. Like, it's just more layers, right?
It is more layers. It is more layers. And my mother-in-law was super stoked. She was super into the whole thing. Like, it was really just beautiful. It was beautiful. And we had a family friend there who was doing bar service, who's, you know, oh gosh, known me for as long as I've known Nick, so 20 years or something. And he rang me up yesterday. He's like, so you're a quiet achiever in the background. What has happened this year? And I was like, oh my God, this is fantastic. Because you're never the messiah in your own family, are you?
Yeah, yeah.
Right, for any of us. So it was also a magnificent experience for me to vocalize and stand in all of who I am as a woman in front of my mother, my mother-in-law, my father-in-law, my sister-in-law, my sister. You know, like, I actually think that's harder to do than it is a room full of people that already love you and can see your life story and projection and hurt and, you know, all the things 100%. That happen in a family. So, and to be able to stand there, and I mean, I know my mother-in-law was like wiping tears as I was talking about her son, and I thought, oh my gosh.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I hope one day I can be that too, is stand there and watch the woman who loves my son talk about how magnificent he is and know that he's loved so well. Like, as a mother, wouldn't that just be exquisite?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course, when I'm expressing how much, you know, how profound Nick is and how he's, you know, influenced my own life, I look over at him and I can see that his eyes are getting just a little bit red and he's like really holding it back. I'm like, oh my God.
I know. I was like, I think I was gone by that point too.
So it was actually magic. Although I got to say, at the book launch, I don't know if any of you have seen the stories with little Gwenny. Microphone. Oh my God, I had a microphone. And so, of course, she's got hold of the microphone as we're testing it. She's like, I'll test it. She's yanked it out of the hand. Hello. She's like this because I'm nervous, a bit shaky. So over comes Gwen, grabs the microphone. Hi. Like this, she says into it. Hi. Hi. Can I have the microphone back? I'm not done. She said, I'm like, oh, dear Lord, a 3-year-old who is so not done. What am I going to do here? Because now she's gathered for the speech. And so she continues, hi, hi. And I can see all these mums trying to, you know, trade. And, oh, Gwenny, what else have you got to say? Do you want to do this? Do you want to, like, I'm thinking in a minute I'm about to ditch the whole scenario and be like, have the microphone. Like, I'm good without it. And then she introduced the book launch and was then happy to hand it over after she was like, I'm not done. I said, that's fine. How about I have a talk and then you can have a talk back after me? And she was like, okay then. Hands it back. And I just thought, yes, be more like Gwen, who's so delighted to be in front of a group of people with a microphone. She's more than happy to let everyone know she's not done.
Yeah, and also she has this most beautiful like demeanor when she can see that she's being received and adored. She just has this little like, you know, look of glee and delight, like, oh my God. I could just eat her when she's like that.
Poor child. She's like, attention, magnificent.
It was so gorgeous.
It was so funny. I didn't know how she was going to go because she'd been pretty dysregulated all week. And of course I was, you know, in a bit of a flurry getting all the things done. So I didn't really have space for her regulation. So I was holding on tight thinking, I don't know how this is going to go. But she was actually great. Having Lola, I think, is actually an extraordinary regulator for her, which I find fascinating. Anyway, it's probably a conversation for another day. But, yeah, I don't know. I haven't worked that dynamic out yet, but that dynamic fascinates me, Lola and Gwen. Interesting. It's almost like sometimes Lola's nervous system's so slow that Gwenny can regulate to it because her nervous system seems so fast. Yeah. It's interesting. Anyway. Conversation for another day. What else do you want to know or talk about from the book launch wrap up of the book?
I think that there's value in talking about who you see the book being for, because I know that we can talk around in circles about the book launch and the birth of the book, but I think that there's value for our listeners in terms of talking about what it seeks to be for the world, and how you would love it to touch women. If you could answer those 2 points.
Yeah, they're big questions. What do I want it to be in the world? I want it to be a doorway for women into deeply understanding their own feminine energy and therefore the capacity they have to reclaim sensuality, sensation, pleasure, and desire within their own body and life. That's something that they can maneuver and turn on whenever they choose to and towards whatever they choose to, whatever the creational force is in their life at that point in time. So I would love for it to be a reclamation of feminine energy, because I don't think there can be a more radical act in a world that is so perpetually masculine and continues, of which it's not about men and women, it's about masculine and feminine, because we can certainly as women perpetuate the patriarchy or the patriarchal line or masculine domination over feminine dominion. Like, we can certainly perpetuate that and suppress the feminine anytime we try to control, suppress, repress, stop feelings, emotions, downplay nurturance, invisibilize motherhood, harshly abuse and neglect our bodies, our hearts, our desire and cravings for love. Like, we do it in so many ways. So I would really love for it to be a reclamation of feminine that I know nourishes women. And if all of life comes through women, then the nourishment of women can have no greater importance, because it literally dictates how we are as a nation or as a world, and how we treat the land that we're on and the humans that inhabit it, and how we teach, like we're the teachers of love. I mean, I've said that so many times, haven't I? That what we teach our children of men, of women, of masculine, of feminine, of relationship, of love, becomes not only the blueprint they seek out in the world, but also how they treat everyone, themselves included, in that world when we're not around, caretaking of their bodies or guiding their minds. So I can't imagine that there's something more honorable or profound than deeply understanding feminine energy and its existence within you, and therefore knowing how to create intense polarity, magnetic forces of attraction and spark and desire and all of that juicy stuff, the pulling of whatever it is that you desire towards you, being a magnet for that, that all comes from the feminine. So I'd love for it to be about women waking up to the force of who they're here to be and what is possible. But equally to that, I would love it to be an ode of how we love, because we all crave to be loved better, but it's the rare person who chooses to give up the safety and comfort of the current ways in which they show up for love in order to learn how to love their lover better. Because changing how you love is hard and painful and will bring up all of the feelings of resentment and rejection and repulsion and loss and shame and all of the icky gritty stuff that's in the way of true expansive love, though we will make it about the person that we love. So to become a better lover, I fully recognize, is a yoga of the heart. You have to stretch, you have to bend, you have to hold a pose longer than is comfortable. You have to find a way to be with the pain and let it expand you. That's hard. So I don't say any of it lightly, but I would love for it to be the book that opens up a pathway to becoming a better lover. Because when you become a better lover, you are loved better. Because when we're loved better, don't we want to give that love back tenfold?
Totally. It's just that beautiful reciprocity. Like, it's just, it elevates it for everybody.
Right.
It's dynamic.
Yeah. And what I would like there to be a twinkling of through that is a deeper reverence and love for the masculine as it shows up in the humans that we love, be they men or women. The masculine, if we're a feminine partner, we will be partnered with a masculine. So how they are, how their mind, heart and body work, that are nuanced and different to the feminine heart, mind and body. And if we can love each other with our differences, then we intrinsically have a better love. And it's the forces of opposite that create the intense chemistry, spark and passion. If you want to have more of love contract, or just be the same as me, if we're exactly the same, we have exactly the same values, we see life exactly the same, we see parenting exactly the same, we show up exactly the same way, thinking the same things, doing the same things, then everything will be fine. But the truth is, it's not true. Because I work with lots of people who have reached utter sameness to the point that there's total neutrality or repulsion.
Well, ultimately, that's also what ends up, once you get to the same, you begin to be repulsed because it's like boring.
Yeah.
Right?
The universe can't have two of the same. We'd be in a lopsided world that would collapse. There has to be an oppositional force. But if we can see that through the eyes of love, and we can see how it is serving and trying to serve us, then we can actually fall in love with that. And dare I say, use the force that is manipulation in its light, which is really creating the win-win, understanding and seeing below a behavior and understanding how to morph that into something that meets your needs whilst also honoring and respecting their needs. That I think makes an extraordinary relationship and therefore family life. So I would love for it to be a learning of loving, I'll say men, but of course any masculine dominant partner, and it can be in any human's body. It's completely separate to gender or sexual orientation. Yeah. So I would love for it to be an understanding with a deeper amount of reverence for what the masculine is, how it shows up, and how we can communicate and love better, and thereby being loved better. And I'd love to think that there's just women just turning on the spark of their magnetic attraction and totally having the sex and the intimacy and the awakened moments within themselves and their relationship that they crave. I would love to think that. Lights my heart on fire when someone leaves a circle of mine and whatever and goes, the best sex I've had in my whole life. I'm like, yes. Job well done, Julie.
Nailed it.
I would love to think that we're making love, not war.
Yeah.
I would love to think that. So if I can in any way be a facilitator of making love, not war, then I would love to be that. And, you know, that for me is what this book is. It's learning the law of attraction in relationship, because that's how powerful you are. But it's also learning how to see your partner without the projections, so that you are free to love them and receive the love that they have the capacity to give you, that you're blocking or they're blocking, or, you know, dynamics in the way.
So good. It's such a gift to the world.
Thank you. I really hope so. I would really love to see women in relationships really lit up, and seeing motherhood and the opportunities that family offer us as something revelationary and expansive.
And the timing of this book actually leads beautifully into your next round of Queen's School as well, doesn't it? Can you share a little bit about how you think Queen's School builds upon the principles that the book outlines?
Yeah, so Queen's School is a super deep dive. So Queen's School is a 10-week relationship intensive with me. So the aspects that you will read or see within the book are themselves more deeply tuned into, because essentially each title or piece within that book is an entire live or discussion with me, and then we workshop how that applies into your life, what's blocking it, what's in the way, how we can move it into something that's more extraordinary, so that by the time you're at the end of the 10 weeks, you have a completely different relationship to what it was when you started. Entered the 10 weeks, you exit with a completely different relationship, would be my hope and desire, should you choose to follow along with the course content. So Queen School is really about basking in my energy and knowledge, and by virtue of plugging into that, there's transmissions of feminine knowledge and soul awareness that just happen in a vicinity like that. You have a space to ask questions and be facilitated. I've had some couples watch it together. I've had, you know, all variations of relationships, women seeking relationships and learning how they can attract the lover that they're seeking. Like, it's really just an upskilling of what we're never taught in school and really in life. We kind of expect that we can work this thing out called love, which is really an intense spiritual and emotional development on our own, without teachers and guidance and without books and textbooks of wisdom. It's kind of crazy. So Queen School is really what I call a relationship intensive. I fully intend that we enter that container together and we have a fantastic immersion in where relationship is at, what the possibilities are of where it can get to, and what's in the way. And, you know, I love the stuff that's in the way, because the dysfunction is always where the function is, and nothing delights my heart more than loving that rather than hating that.
Seeing how purposeful it is, not just something to be avoided or like shamed.
Yeah. And, you know, the stories of women and the stories their bodies hold and their memories hold are sacred. I love hearing them and I love witnessing them, and I love the meaning we make out of them and how we extrapolate it out. So
it really is a life-changing course. I know that one woman who I spoke to recently, she was saying that she did our course in soul-driven motherhood, Deepen, which was really what we created together before you'd gone and created the first round of Queen School. And then she did Queen School, and the amount of transformations in her relationship, which was really, I think, a breaking point back right at the beginning of those teachings, and is now just come in leaps and bounds simply because of her transformation. Because often couples will hit issues and think, oh, we need to go to couples counselling, or he needs to do this, or, you know, and there's this projection. But what you often say when you open in Queen School or in any kind of relationship work is that let's not even focus on them. And not even sometimes even tell them you're doing anything, because when you transform, so do they.
Oh, isn't that magic, Bridgie? I know that you've witnessed this, you know, just as much as I've.
Yeah, totally. I mean, all my work with clients is like, you don't need to go and talk to anybody about this. Let's just work with you.
And your world will change.
Yeah.
And it sounds outrageous, doesn't it? But the truth is that if this entire world is just a mirror, and if all of it is a co-creation, then why this? Why now? For you. And when you gain that wisdom and shift what's in the way, it no longer exists, it dissolves.
And in the world of the, you know, in quantum theory and the fact that we perceive space between everything, but actually everything's always connected. So when you're actually transforming yourself and your perception, that person feels that. They might not consciously feel it, but there is a shift because you have transformed, because you are still connected, even in that distance. And that, I just think, is profound, and that we can't hear it enough, because it's like hidden from our broader cultural narratives around the fact that everything is energy.
Yes, isn't it? Which then means nothing's solid and therefore nothing's permanent.
Yeah.
I know, but it's a bit of a trip, isn't it?
It's a trip. It's totally a trip. But I think it's helpful, again, because if we're talking about feminine energy, we're talking about women remembering their energy and the power of their feminine. It really is to take yourself out of that head of like fixing, changing, trying to communicate, to instead look within at your projection, at the energy that you hold, at your beliefs, you know, all of this stuff first.
Yeah. I would love that. I would love that if love was painful enough that we knew we had to go and sort ourselves out. Wouldn't that be amazing if that was our narrative? As opposed to, there's something wrong with you, there's something wrong with us, there's something wrong with this.
But that's not dissimilar, I would say, to your and my philosophy on parenting.
No, I agree with you, because it's all relationship and it's all love.
Yeah.
I don't think that there's anything you can't learn in relationship that you can't learn, in parenting that you can't learn anywhere else. Yeah, absolutely. And I wonder sometimes if, particularly in our community of conscious parents, if we applied the same amount of love, care, attention, and selflessness that we apply to our parenting, if we applied that to our relationship, how much healthier would our relationship be? But often our relationship is what gets the scraps left over, and then we wonder why it's so painful and undernourished. But anything we don't nourish and love well will at some point become painful.
Yeah. And conversely, whatever you appreciate continues to appreciate.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's true. So let's hope this book makes its way into that sort of magic. That would be heaven.
Yeah. And so we'd love to hear, for those listeners who have read the book, what you thought of the book. Please share it on our socials with us, or get in touch if it touched you, because that would be just so beautiful after this huge labour of love that it was for you, Julie, for you to hear that from women, because I would love to see that transformation.
Yeah, I really would too. And I do invite you to leave a review on Amazon or Goodreads or wherever it shows up. And if you leave a review, just take little screenshots, shoot it off to me via Nourishing the Mother or Julie Tenner, julietenner.love or Love Julie Tenner, depending on Facebook or Instagram. And I will then send you a link to instantly download a mindful colouring ebook, which has all of the channeled artworks within my book, as well as a few prompts that beautiful Rose Amara made for my book. And it's divine.
They are just so beautiful.
I know they're divine. And they're designed as mandalas that themselves have a resonance, but also in the process of colouring that you experience channeling and revelation. So if you would love to download that, then please certainly just shoot me a little message and let me know. And if you leave a review and I know about it, you will go into the running to win a spot in Queen School, which is beginning on the 28th of December. It's $1,111, so one of you will win that. And as soon as you let me know you've left a review, your name goes in the running to be drawn Christmas Eve. So I would love to hear how you found it. I would love to hear from you with a review and be able to share that love a little wider. That would be heaven.
Beautiful. So, to connect with you, Julie,
is julietenner.love, and connect with you, Bridget,
is suburbansandcastles.com. And right now I am sharing all about flow, which is mind, body, mothering. So it's all of the concepts of neurobiology in parenting, and particularly your relationship with your child, your dynamics, your values, their values, your triggers, all that juicy stuff that we weave throughout the podcast and that I particularly love to talk about. And you can get that on my website.
Again, mind, body.
Mind, body, mothering.
Yeah, that makes my body feel so good when you say that.
I think because we need the mind to understand and perceive, and then we need the body embodiment, knowing that everything is feeling. I think we feel our kids and they feel us before we even, so much of communication is nonverbal. So yes, you can get that on my website for $88, and it's like a little mini course for you to do at your own pace. So I'd love for you, if that calls to you like it calls to Julie, for you to hop on suburbansandcastles.com and get your access to that.
I think it's fantastic to have some beautiful things like that to do during our summer holidays as well.
Yeah.
Depending on what hemisphere you're in.
And connect with us, it's nourishingthemother.com.au.
Yeah, so don't forget to check out the Nourish tea at theawakenlabel.com. Grab yours, share it on socials with us. We would absolutely adore to see how you are spreading the word, the light and the love that is Nourish, particularly during this festive period. So definitely please tag us and let us know.
Remember to nourish the woman to rock the family.
And we'll see you next week when we continue to peel back the layers on your mothering journey.
And if you want to support Nourishing the Mother and all the late nights, the early mornings, the blood, sweat and tears we pour into our art, then please go to patreon.com/NTM podcast and become our patron. As a patron, you're helping all of the cost of operating this podcast, the hosting, the editing, the transcription, helping all of that be completely covered, and joining a community who are all about honouring our journeys and continuing to open. The more support we have, the longer we can last. So become a patron. We'd love to have you. Go to patreon.com/NTM podcast. We literally couldn't do this without you. Thank you so much for listening, and please share this podcast with anyone you think it would be medicine for.
This has been a production of TheWellnessCouch.com. Check us out on Facebook and join in the conversation on Facebook.com/TheWellnessCouch. Subscribe to each show on iTunes and check us out on Twitter. The Wellness Couch, streaming wellness into your lives.
Whilst the Wellness Couch presenter endeavor to provide accurate and helpful information to their listeners, these podcasts cannot take into account individual circumstances and are not intended to be a substitute for health and medical advice from a qualified health professional. You should always seek the advice of a qualified health professional before acting on any of the information provided by any of the Wellness Couch podcasts.